So welcome back. I've returned from the show floor, energized by all the amazing things that I've seen. The Panasonic booth, the Summer Garden. They're actually starting to test the speakers by men singing very strange songs out there. So I'm excited for tomorrow when the real acts start. So Sasha's taking a quick break. He'll be back for the end. And I'm joined with Martin by DigitalStrom. It's very nice to see you again. I always love visiting his booth. There's always something incredibly fun and funny happening at your booth. So how are you doing today?
Oh, we're excellent. Thanks, fine.
So for our audience that doesn't know you, can you give us a brief summary of what you're doing?
Yeah, what we actually do is we connect all devices in a home. With that, we make it smart because everything is based on software. And then you can do fantastic things because new applications come up every year, new devices you can connect, and that's what we show on the IFA, what can be done when everything runs on software.
Amazing. So the last time that I visited your booth, you had an amazing connected mirror, that you had the shower and the mirror, and you were able to kind of connect everything. So can you talk about how you're connecting everything?
Now, there are different ways. If it's simple electrical devices, we have this small terminal block, which can switch, dim, and measure electricity, and there's a computer on it, data storage, and it communicates over power line. More complex devices, most times you have a broadband connection, like an audio system, if you have a TV monitor. And that's one thing. And the second is that we make sure everything works together. You explained about the shower, so I come in the bathroom, I get the right light, I get the right music, I get my right shower program, because we show it with showers that have an electronic valve.
So last year, or actually earlier this year, I got the whole hardware, your modular system set up, and now you're talking about doing everything just through software.
Yeah, I mean the software is running on this hardware, and what you can do, you modify what you want to do in a house. Normally it's fixed wired, so this switch is exactly switching this light on. Now based on software, I can always decide that this switch might be now controlling your audio system, or it might even control your shower, whatever you want to do. And the next thing is that you have applications that can automate things. And if you have new devices, what we show this year, we have the Amazon Echo there, and demonstrate how you can use that in a house, including your shower, including your kitchen, because in the kitchen it's important to be hands-free, so you can, whatever you're working on, continue working, but still control devices by voice, gesture, or mimic.
You guys have been doing voice for a long time now, so you can, half a cup of water, automated cooking, these types of things are stuff that you've been showing for a while. So how is it working with Amazon Echo now?
No, that's a difference. Voice currently, or what we have as a product, works with a smartphone. Okay. Now, you can take your smartphone, you can talk to it, and it will work. Now, Amazon Echo has the advantage, it's in the room. You can trigger by saying Alexa, and then you get the reaction, and then you can talk to it, so it might do certain things. You can ask questions and all that. So that's in a workflow in the kitchen, where you want to be hands-free, where you have greasy hands or something like that. It's much better experience because you just talk to it. Same true for video recognition.
So we're now kind of entering, well, this time of year right now just seems to be a huge upswing in the way that voice is being adopted into the home. Windows 10 has Cortana, and so you have like a natural intuition when talking with your computer. Alexa is all over the place. I mean, I went to visit my cousin who just had a baby, and I didn't know she had Amazon Echo in the room, and the baby was kind of like fussy, and all of a sudden she's like, Alexa, play Pandora Lullaby playlist. And Alexa was just there playing it. And I just saw how really naturally you kind of started to have that dialogue with your home. Yeah,
and that's because the technology is disappearing. It's getting more natural for you because it's not so in your front face. It's not you getting nervous. We see that when people start talking on the smartphone the first time, they don't feel comfortable. They start talking like to a stupid person. They're not doing RealSense and all that type of thing.
Yeah, they're leaving out words.
And with Alexa or with Amazon Echo, that just is a different situation. You get used to it very, very easily. Unfortunately, you're saying it's all over the place. It's all over the United States. It's not in Europe yet.
It's true.
That's true. It's only working in English, but we wanted to show what that will really mean for a house, because now you can combine this lullaby on the one hand, controlling a device, asking a question, putting something on a shopping list, and that gives a whole new experience if you have everything connected so that really everything can work together. And it's not a single system, so you can talk to Alexa to play something, but you cannot do something else you might want to have in just that moment in the house.
So how do we get to that place where we're breaking down the borders between all of these kinds of systems? Because it's, Alexa's one thing, Cortana's another, Siri's another, and all this kind of like learning that's happening online about how we're communicating with our devices. You're kind of in this really interesting place where you just want your home to be smart. You're not particularly in love. I don't think so anyways. Or are you in love with one of them and I don't know?
No. What we want to provide to our customers is that they can connect any type of device and system, because there's no manufacturer that really controls the whole house. Samsung, you can you get quite a lot. You can have a TV, a dishwasher, a washing machine, a fridge, but mostly you don't get everything. So in a house, you have the situation you have to combine different manufacturers. You have to combine things over different times. Your heating system is 10 years old. Amazon just came out, Echo. So, and what we provide is an infrastructure that you can combine those different things. And the only thing we are in love with is that if they have open APIs.
Okay.
Okay. And right now, Echo has, with a skill base, you can have an open API. Siri doesn't have right now.
Yes.
So it makes it more complex to be in that situation. And therefore, whatever has open APIs, we use that API to give our customers the best experience in the home, having those things working together, because that's what we focus on: connectivity and getting things working together, that it is an all-over great experience. So that it's easy to use, because just that you can talk to it doesn't mean that the devices really behave in that way,
right.
That priorities are set correctly, because you have in a house things might interfere. You're talking to somebody is in front of the door, which has priority right now, and those type of things we take care of. And the only requisite is if they have open APIs, because then we can integrate it very, very easily.
So how would you figure that out? That if you're talking inside the house to someone, and then someone's at the door, is there like a flowchart for figuring stuff like this out? Because that seems rather complicated. Like who exactly you're talking to?
Yeah, but the question is, the easiest way to figure out what to do is, what would you do as a person? I mean, the only thing we're trying to do is that what the customer expects to happen in a house, that happens in an automated way as well. So yes, you would interrupt your music if somebody rings the doorbell, because that has a higher priority. So that's how we set it up and say that has a higher priority. Now, an even higher priority has if something might be damaged. So material, whether your shades might be damaged or something like that, that has a higher priority over the all things. And the highest priority has your life.
Right.
So if there's something life-threatening, that will have, so whatever music you play, if there's a fire alarm, your audio system will be used to announce how you should behave in case of the fire or with the fire and these type of things. So it's not too difficult to understand what should be done. It's difficult over all the different systems to orchestrate that it really happens. Because that means, this system might have a timer and suddenly do something. You told, Echo, and in 10 minutes, switch off all lights. Now there's a fire alarm, there's important lights are on, so escape routes. Now we have to make sure that this timer doesn't interfere with that and these type of things. So what you want to do is not that complex. To get it re-implemented is a little bit tricky, because you have those different systems which all have their own intelligence, and you have to work with that and find ways to control this, because the device might do it itself. So we have to counteract against that.
Very interesting. So a lot of what I've been seeing with home automation and the larger trend that's happening within kind of B2B infrastructure tends to be, or the conversations that people are having with me, is a lot about the cloud and artificial intelligence. So AI in the cloud, making all of our dumb data smart, being able to figure out what to do with all the data, because we've been putting it up there and really no one's had anything to do with it. What are your thoughts on that kind of infrastructure entering into the home?
Now, it's important. I mean, if we talk about Alexa or Cortana or whatever, thing like that, that it really understands you. It has to understand the context you're living in. It has to know your room names. It has certain preferences you have. If you're saying, I would like to have a hot tea, it has to know what type of equipment you have in the kitchen, which is the best used in order to prepare tea. So context is very, very important around that. And if you're talking, you're not very precise in what you really want. You always assume that your counterpart is pretty familiar with certain things, especially in the home, because no home is like the other, right. And you're an individual one. So actually this AI and data is needed, otherwise you would not get a good experience in your home when you start talking to it, because it would have to be so precise, okay, go in this room, do exactly this, and something like that. And to set up everything manually is far too much work.
Yes.
To do that, so the system has to be able to figure it out, and that's what we can really do, because the devices know who they are, what they can do, and if you look at certain algorithms like the IBM Watson with the recipes, one piece is that they can figure out, they calculate recipes with their AI depending on your taste. Now that's one part, but if you want to automate, they also have to consider what devices you have. Because you might have a different type of stove, or you don't even have this device but another one, and they can adapt to this situation there. So you get your personal recipe based on ingredients you have, your personal taste, and the devices you actually have. So yes, it's needed. You need this type of AI, otherwise we will never get to the point that it is so easy for a customer to just talk to a house and getting support in automation in the kitchen, because there are so many data which are needed to understand the context the customer normally is in. And that's the difference between somebody who is not familiar with you, is in your house, and you ask him to help, or with somebody there who has been in your house 100 times and you ask him to help. And actually you want to have one that has been 100 times in your house and pretty much knows where to go and what to do if you want to have something. That's the reason why we believe, yes, that will be the case, cloud-based, artificial intelligence in a certain way, supporting you at home to understand the context.
So you're actually in a very interesting position, because you're working between different companies and different infrastructures, and privacy is always kind of at the top of everyone's question list. I mean, even with Cortana and Windows 10, you can open the computer with your face, right? And then people are going, does that mean my computer's always on and looking at me? And we've gone through this with the Kinect, of people worried that the camera's always looking at your living room, and there's even a couple of hilarious jokes going around where a notification pops up. It's like, we just saw what you did in your living room. To delete the footage permanently, give us $9.99. You know what I mean? There's some definite concerns around the internet about privacy, and a lot of them are founded. But you're actually in a very special place to be able to comment on kind of how it's all coming together. Yeah,
I mean, privacy is something you have to look in, that it's very individual how far customers want to go. Now, and we have to get to a rational discussion. Like also Echo, is it listening all the time? Now we are sitting here, probably a couple of people have a smartphone here. So there are microphones in the room, besides those ones obviously, but there are microphones in the room anyhow. How can I make sure that they're all off and not what I'm saying to somebody on the street or whatever is recorded and put somewhere? I do not know. So we have gotten used to be around smartphones and still talk very privately, assuming and trusting that everybody is not really recording and putting in the cloud. And the same has to be happened to the devices. So companies like Microsoft have to make sure that they really adhere to what they promise. So take the Echo example. You can delete what you said if you want to. And Amazon has to make sure if you say delete it, that it's really deleted. They store it for analysis, and they tell you if you delete it, the quality might be worse, because we are learning over time, but you have to make sure. And there are certain rules we have really to adhere to in order to respect privacy of the people. And I think then it's fine. That people get trust in it, they see nothing is happening really there, and they will go to those brands who are most trusted in this type of question. And I think that's a very, very important piece around privacy. And that there are mics in the room, I mean, that's already the case today. as I said, most people have a smartphone. They have it in the room, and they do not put it in flight mode when they get home because of privacy. That's not the case.
No, you are absolutely right that we already live in an environment where this extra step isn't really changing anything.
No, it's just that you suddenly are in a different position because you see it suddenly there, you're wondering what does it mean, and it's new. So mistrust is the first thing that happens. It's very natural. Smartphone we have gotten used to after a while, that's something new. And that's why you have to be very cautious about what you're doing in that respect, and always give the consumers, the customers, the power to change things if he wants to. So for example, in our smart home environment, if he really doesn't want to have it connected, he can disconnect it from this thing. He still can use the push buttons, everything will work fine. Yes, he cannot use, obviously, Amazon Echo or Cortana, but the rest will work. So, and so everybody is able to select his level of privacy he wants to see, and also to select the right partner. I mean, that's the next choice you have. If you don't trust A, you might take tool B, because you say, I trust it more. Up to, I'm using a system which is running purely locally, accepting that it is from the power, not as good as a cloud-based one, an option you have.
Very interesting. So can you talk a little bit about what you think is coming next? I mean, I know it's a very big question, but I mean, you're already kind of positioning your company on the bleeding edge of what's possible.
Yeah, what I think what's coming next is really getting away from the thought that a smart home is a home which is fully controlled by a smartphone. Because people figured out that's not really the practical case you're living in. You have an average 250, 300 switching moments in a home per day. You don't want to do that with a smartphone. Now, technology is coming up like the Intel RealSense. Mm-hmm. We do some things with that as well. We have a showcase here. You go to your coffee machine, you smile, and you get a coffee. Because now it's very easily to done. The devices are getting cheaper and cheaper, so that can become practical. And so I see that the technology in the house is getting more humanized, saying it's not interfering with my life, it's supporting my life, because it's more looking at me and understanding what I want instead of I have to tell explicitly what I want. And that allows us to interact very, very differently. The other thing is, now since connectivity in the home is coming, the devices are starting to change. We show on our booth a kitchen where you can adjust height in the different areas to have it more economical for large people, small people, or even people in a wheelchair or something like that. With connectivity, it's very easily to adjust. Normally, you wouldn't do that because too many things you have to set up. With that, you come in the room and say, hey, it's me, Martin, and it will adjust automatically to my height I set in there. So devices will change because they're coming connected. A stove is very difficult to automate. We'll see new kitchen devices that can automate cooking much more, because the way they're built. In Germany, there's a very popular product, or actually in Europe, the Vorwerk Thermomix. It's a mixer, it's a scale, everything in one. It's computerized, it can run recipes and everything that you can automate better. Because for the daily life, you want to have support in the kitchen. You don't have to automate the rest of your home that much because they're not working that much in there. I mean, the most work you have in the kitchen, also busy work you don't like. That's the reason why people have a dishwasher, and you wanted to have other things to automate in there. So devices will change because of connectivity, and devices will work together. I think that are the two things you will see. It's getting easier for a customer to use because sensing technology is there. RealSense is one example. Echo, Cortana, or whatever are other examples. And on the other hand, because of connectivity, devices in the home will change because they can be easier to be used because they are connected, and then you can do more special things, as you saw the shower, because it doesn't have only one outlet, it has multiple outlets to give you a better shower experience.
Yeah, absolutely. There was lights and music and pressure and temperature. Yeah, there was a million things involved in kind of creating that shower experience. Now, I find it very interesting that out of all of the capabilities of Intel's RealSense, because there's actually quite a lot. You can do, eye tracking, face recognition, gesture control, all of these different things. So with your implementation, you decided to go with face tracking and not gesture?
Yeah, we started. I mean, the question is always when you want to bring customers close to this topic. How do you do it? We thought about using tracking a hand. So if I have a glass of water, put it below the water tap, it automatically fills it. That's a rational case. We decided for a smile for coffee. So you go to coffee machine, you smile at it, and then you get a coffee. It's more a positive nature, and you show how it actually works. You can see how it tracks your face, and once you start smiling, it says, okay, I detected the smile, and then we change the light, we play an announcement, hey, you did a great smile, and you get a cup of coffee. Getting people closer and to liking this technology. You know, it's all about people. You want to be comfortable in a home. So that's the first step. Now, that's on a fair. In a private home, you would do it differently. There's the interesting point that it recognizes it's me, because then I get the perfect coffee for me. You know, I would be sitting in front of it and say, I would like a cup of coffee, and it would say, hey, it's Martin, so I prepared this coffee. If my wife would go there, it would be a different coffee.
And at 7 a.m., it needs to be a triple espresso.
And whatever it might be there. So we took this case as a demo case to get people closer to what we can do with the technology. The RealSense is really small, so you might have multiple RealSense. One is looking at the faucet and everything there, might maybe looking over the stove, so it can detect what's on the stove and your safety features, other things. The third might be looking at your face for certain things. We don't know yet what will be the case. The product is not really available as a single device yet, so it cannot be built into a kitchen. But we assume it will be pretty soon, and then we look into application, what can be done best, how can we help the customer in his daily experience to support him that way. But the first step was looking at the face, detecting, and it shows how tiny difference it really can detect. I mean, the same true if how they identify a person. I mean, they had the press conference here with the twins.
That's right.
That's amazing. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to really differentiate those two girls. And the system did just a great job.
That's really amazing. So I would love to visit your booth, actually, to see this demo.
Yeah, sure, you can.
Can you let our viewers know what hall you're in? Because this is a live stream.
Okay.
A lot of these guys are coming tomorrow to the fair.
Okay, we are in hall 11.1, so lower floor of 11, booth 13, DigitalStrom, easy to catch. If you don't have the time goes there, the coffee case is also here on the Intel booth. So you can smile for a coffee. If you want a coffee, just walk down, smile, you will get one. That's the other. But all the other stuff with the shower, with the kitchen, with the Echo integration, everything you can see in that booth. And you're always welcome. You get a coffee and can have a lot of fun on our booth.
Awesome. Well, DigitalStrom is always one of the companies that I love catching up with you guys, because especially your booth is fun. Your products are always very cutting edge, and it's always very interesting to see how the connected home is evolving. Because it's been a few years that we've been meeting up, and it's actually quite an evolution just over a short period of time.
Yeah, and it's a couple of steps. We started in 2011 getting into the market. The first thing was to get everything connected. So we started with lights, shades, doorbell, and these type of things, heating systems we added, and everything like that. The second step is making these things more smart. So you started with smartphone application, but then we started with a back-end cloud application. We have a text interpretation system. It's not really artificial intelligence, it's programmed differently, but we are moving that direction. And then we started to integrate all those funny and useful IP devices like an audio system, so the house can talk to you. That was the first step. And now we can talk to the house. And yes, it's very, very fast, because now it's digital and software driven. Before, it was mechanical. If you wanted to do a new feature, you had to rewire. And that's not needed. And since you can update, all our existing customers can participate from this development. So it makes much more sense, because the customer satisfaction of your existing customers grows with the development. It's not only for the new customer. And that's new in this industry. You know, what you did before was only for your new customers you have. Now, whatever we develop is for our new customers, but all our existing customer base as well. So the interest in developing is much higher, and it's easier to do because you do not have to rewire than you would have in the traditional way when you did a home traditional. So it's not only about how the customer lives in there, it really changes the industry because of these effects. You can update. I mean, you can run Echo with an 18-year-old heating system. And you know, if you look 15 years back, We didn't talk about anything like Facebook, smartphone, or something like that. So the equipment, most of the equipment you have, if you would take a calendar and say, when did I buy it? And compare it with all the developments. The earliest one was Wikipedia, 2001, then Google Earth and Facebook, 2004, 5, smartphone, 2007. You will see most of what you have at home is pre of all that time. Mm-hmm. And now with the integration, suddenly everything can participate of that's what's happening there. And that's changing. That's the reason why suddenly we see the house is evolving so fast, because the smartphone has this update capability. The other would always mean I have to buy new devices, and the repurchasing cycle of devices in the home is very slow. Heating system, the longest one. Dishwasher, like 4 or 5 years minimum, if not 8. And that explains why suddenly it feels very dynamic, because it's dynamic because you can update.
Yeah, absolutely. The concept of updating the home, that's something that I know that has stopped a lot of people from investing into connecting their home, because they think, oh, next year it's going to be a different system. And then there have been competing systems and they don't talk to each other. Yeah. And all these updates have really kind of slowed things down. But the ability to connect things and to offer updates to existing customers is enormous.
Yeah, and there is important that we rely on things that are existing, because you're not changing. So we rely on 2 networks, power and broadband. Now, the internet has been around for a while. Power has been a long time. So your infrastructure is already fine. You don't have to do. We could have interfaces to all existing type of let's say low-tech interfaces, like a light bulb. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Easy devices you can connect to. So you keep the stability on that side, but with this terminal block, we put it digital, because it's a computing power, and we connect it. So even those old devices suddenly can participate in this development. And that's the trick of it. Because no, customers don't want to buy all the equipment every time new. They're afraid of those things. So we rely on things which have been there for ages. How you dim a light, that has been there for ages. There's new technology coming up with the LED, that's fine, but the old stuff still works. We use the regular push button, has been there for 100 years. Yes, we can use it, and suddenly it's a digital device, because we put this terminal block in there. And I think that's the important trick with it, that you consider it's not like a smartphone, it's not like a car where you buy everything new. It's something which evolves over time. Mm-hmm. And that's why we say that's our place for the infrastructure, that we make sure that your fridge you buy right now will work with the iPhone 25 in how many years ago. I mean, that's something you have to make sure, because not every time when you buy a new smartphone, you want to buy a new fridge or washing machine.
Absolutely. I was at the Panasonic booth earlier today, and they're offering washing machines with new damper technology that will allow the motor to run for 20 years. They're offering washing machines with 20-year warranties. It seems like the appliance manufacturers are kind of embracing new technology and saying, you know what, we don't really have planned obsolescence anymore. We want to offer you these 20-year warranties. And what that does for the ability for people to update their homes is, at the same time, Panasonic saying, buy our connected fridge.
Yes.
You know, it's
why
interesting.
Not? Why not? Because if you can do updates, if you split hardware and functionality, why not keeping it up for it? I mean, a washing machine does certain things, so the technology there, but the way you control it is different. Same with the heating system. What is the difference with the heating system if it's connected compared to 10 years ago? Not the oil burner or whatever you have there, it's the way you control it, because suddenly weather forecast is available for free. Something you didn't have 20 years ago. You wouldn't have somewhere free information how the weather will be tomorrow, so I can adjust that. Information, whether you're at home or not, is available for free, because suddenly you have a smartphone. Now, the heating, the burner itself, that's not changing. I mean, yes, they have development, but that's fine. But if you have it by software and have open interfaces, you can add this feature also to the old heating system. And that, I think, is the important part. That through that we get the development. That can happen, and that's because it's digital, it's driven by software which can be updated. And as long as you have it that way, you're fine with this different timing. But that has to be done that way. Otherwise, we'll be stuck in certain developments. Same is true, that's the reason why we use the power line. It doesn't make sense to have a smart home system which only is running in new builds. Mm-hmm. I mean, in Europe, it takes absolutely 100 years on average until every home would have that technology if you only put it in new builds. So it has to be in existing homes because a home works differently to a car or whatever it is there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've got me all excited now about the ability to update your home and the accessibility of the connected home now that you offer a service that really blends together all the different companies and APIs,
Yes.
which is a very daunting and overwhelming thing for the average consumer.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So this has been Martin from DigitalStrom. I'm Nicole Scott here on the live stream. So you can see that things are kind of closing down behind us. Intel's getting ready for their big party with a German band that I don't know the name of. It sounds like Daikon. I know you guys are going to kill me for making that comparison. All right, so we'll be back shortly.